Hello! Today we are going to be doing an assignment that I normally do with some of my first graders, but I think that any grade level would enjoy working on this and they would be able to add more details or keep it a little bit more simple depending on their abilities. So today we're going to be drawing what I call a line fish. We're going to start it all the same and then you will be given some choices on how to make your fish unique. So the first two things that I do is closer to the edge of the paper, almost in the corner but not quite touching, is I draw a nice big curve. And then on this side, I'm going to draw a smaller curve. So this is going to be the tail. This will be its mouth. Now remember, I'm using a Sharpie so that you can see it a lot easier when I am drawing. You probably want to use a pencil just in case those mistakes happen. Now I have actually noticed that my mouth is a little bit too high, but if I flip my paper this way, I can super easily make it a little bit lower because I do want it just a little bit below the middle of my paper. So I'm just going to flip mine around and that solves the problem. Next, I like giving my fish a big old belly, like those big bellied goldfish that you see in the pet store sometimes. So I'm going to bring it down and then curve up. The top of my fish, I'm going to keep a little bit simpler, and I'm going to bring it past the belly. So the back of my fish is right up here, and the belly ends right there. Next, what I'm going to do is from the back of the fish, I'm going to make a nice curved lines. This artwork does a lot with curves. And then this one, I am going to come out and then curve down. Now, we have a couple of more details to add. I'm going to add the top fin where I can make this come up. And then you can make a wiggly line, a zigzag line, a super curvy line. And I'm going to make one that's pretty wiggly. Your fish would also have a fin down in this area, and I make it look similar to the one that is on the back of my fish, but something that I do is I don't close this shape because this shows me, hey, it attaches right here. It's all part of the same thing. I like making my fish with a big old googly eye. If you want yours to be smaller, you are more than welcome to make yours smaller. Then I'm going to add just another little circle in there. That's going to be for the shine. So when I color this in, I'm not going to color in that part. Now what I show my students to do, if we were to be doing this in class together, we would talk about different kinds of lines. And we have bumpy lines and zigzag lines and wavy lines. So I'm going to grab another piece of paper, move him up, and on my paper, I'm going to draw a variety of lines. If you want to use any of them, you are more than welcome to. If you want to come up with your own squiggly lines, that's totally fine too. But sometimes we might use a bumpy line, and this makes it look really very much like scales. So I'm making mine all go sideways because I would draw it coming down my fish. Then I have a zigzag line. And with my little ones, I go zig, zag, zig, zag, and it helps them draw the line a lot better. I can also do a loopy line where we go loop, 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 and you'll be amazed on how silly little kids sound when they're doing that. But it works. It genuinely helps them draw it better. and our castle line, where we would go down, over, down, back, down, over, down, back, down, over, down, back, down. So I teach my students by coming up with a different sound effect or a different phrase for each different kind of line as we are drawing them. And then I tell them they can come up with their own, like we've talked about dotted lines, how you can use a series of dots to create lines. You can do a curve, 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 curvy line. There's a lot of different choices. So what I tell students when we're doing this project is I tell them that I want to see different kinds of lines, because we've done pieces of artwork that involve different kinds of lines, and I tell them, you know, I want to see how many lines you can make kind of on your own. And then I show them that I jump over that fin to kind of make the whole thing. Then I might make a different one. So I'm not going to fill it all with the same line, and that's where these fish get a little bit silly and don't always have to be realistic, because we're using different kinds of lines the whole time. Okay, so now this helps to make it look like we have scales going down our fish's body. I would also add some lines in the fins. And I just like adding curved lines. I don't get super fancy with those, but you can if you want to. And I add some curved lines here as well. Now, in the tail, you might want some different kinds of lines. You might start from one part in your tail and curve around and go to the other, which I think I might try this time. I've seen some of my kids do it and I like how that looks. So what I might do is I might just start with just a big curved line. And I'm going to make that curve go all the way there, and it almost makes it look like a little slice of watermelon. And if it's easier, turn your paper, because then you can work on it while it's closer to you. So I'm going to add some lines in the tail of my fish. Alright, now that I have my fish mostly on how I would like it, I might add another series of lines around my fish's eye. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another circle. And I'm just going to add some straight lines in it, just to help use that space a little bit more. If you want to, a little extra detail might be to add a couple of bubbles coming up, and then you can add just a really tiny curved triangle to show that they're shiny. Alright, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add color. And how I normally add color to these is I have my students notice that, hey, from here all the way until we get to that bumpy line, this is all one shape, so I could color this all one color. And then from here, from the bumpy line to the zigzag line, that's one shape, so I can make that all one color. So I kind of have them divide it into the shapes. A lot of the times I would also have them trace over it with an oil pastel, and then we would use paint. So if you want, if you have access to those materials, by all means have them trace those pencil lines firmly with an oil pastel or with a crayon. That would work as well. And then have them paint in between those sections as well. At home, I actually don't have paints right now, so I drew it all out with Sharpie, and then I'm going to color it in with crayons. So it's going to be a little different than what I normally do, but that's all right. We're going to be flexible. At this point, I have my fish totally colored in, and a couple of things that I want to point out. I tend to really like doing things either in rainbow order or as if I'm working my way around the color wheel. So I went red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, and then I continued the pattern. Do not feel that you have to do that. If you would like to, absolutely. But if you want to come up with a cool pattern and say like red, orange, yellow, red, orange, yellow, red, orange, yellow, that's totally fine. You can color this as you want to, but I would just make sure that you're switching colors between those lines so that you're showing that you recognize, hey, this can be a different color, this can be a different color. Okay, so you're really showing that you are thinking about how you are adding color to your piece. I started with red, but I made the fin blue and then the top fin yellow to kind of reference those primary colors. So I'm trying to say, hey, these are really important colors in art, so I'm incorporating that knowledge into my artwork as well. So the next thing that I am going to do is I'm going to color the water, and you could color your water black and show that it's maybe one of those really deep sea fish. You could also color it more of a light blue-green color to show maybe it's a tropical fish. So think about what color you're using for the water if you have access to different colors. Otherwise, blue is totally fine. Our water bubbles should not be the same color blue because we want them to stand out a little bit. If you only have one kind of blue, you could color these a little bit lighter, or you could color them just a little bit darker than the background of your water. And I really am going to encourage you color the background because it just helps your artwork look more complete and more finished and intentional. And there we have it. So now my fish is all colored in, has a nice home. So I've colored the background nice and neat and careful, added those bubbles, and I think it turned out pretty well. I would love to see your artwork as well, so feel free to post pictures. You can send them to me. If you are one of my students and you are a part of my school group, you have the directions on how to upload those to Artsonia. I will create an exhibit for those, and I hope you enjoyed following along, and I can't wait to see what you've made.